members, Honorable Minister Bartman, HOD, Ms. Cantana, all members of the public, as well as officials from the Provincial Treasury. Members, welcome to the Standing Committee on Finance, where we will be considering vote 3 for Provincial Treasury. Before we get started, if we can just do a brief round of introductions, starting with the members. I am Peter Johnson. I'm the chairperson of the Standing Committee on Finance. And if I can just please ask members to indicate whether they are permanent members of this committee or not. Thank you. If we can, I see Member Constable's hand.
Morning, Chair. Good morning, MEC. Morning, colleagues. My name is Noel Constable, and I am a permanent member of this committee. Thank you, Chair.
Morning, Chair. My name is Noko Masipa. I am a permanent member of this committee. Good morning, MEC, and all the officials as well. Thanks.
Morning, Chair. Khalil Parankes, permanent member of this committee, and good morning to the Minister Bartman, and good morning to all the colleagues. Thank you very much.
Morning, Chairperson. Morning, colleagues and everybody on the platform. My name is Nomin Kondra. I'm a member of the committee.
Morning, Chair. Derek Wessels, and I'm also a permanent member on the committee.
Morning, Chair, and morning, colleagues. I'm Beauty Stoffels, and I'm alternate member of the committee.
Thank you, members. Minister.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Deirdre Bartman. I'll just hand over to HOD and the team for the introductions as well.
Thanks, Minister.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning to the members. I'm Julinda Gantana, head of the department. We're just going to follow the alphabetical, the order in which the officials are on the participant list. So I'm going to hand over to Annalise.
Good morning to the committee. Annalise Pick, Provincial Government Finance.
Good morning, everybody. Anne-Marie Smith, this Chief Financial Officer. Thanks.
Isaac.
Goeiemorgen. Good morning, Molweni. My name is Isaac T. Local Government, Public Finance, Provincial Treasurer. Thank you.
Apologies, Chair. I missed Elizabeth. Sorry, Elizabeth.
All good. Today, Elizabeth Wynne, also Provincial Treasury, Local Government Finance.
Good morning to the committee members. I'm Kim Nietlang, Provincial Treasury, and with my coordination.
Your HOD, does that conclude the introductions from your team?
Apologies, Chair. The next person is Megan. Colleagues, can we just go through the introductions as painlessly as possible, quickly? Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you, HOD. Good morning. Megan Robertson from Strategic and Operational Management Support. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Nadia Rehnquist, Public Policy Services.
Good morning, National Ludovic from Financial Management.
Good morning, Paul Pino, Business Information and Data Management.
Good morning, Ziad Majid, Infrastructure.
Chair, that looks like it's the entire team. Thanks.
Thank you. Once again, welcome to everyone. Just if there are any members of the public joining us on the virtual platform this morning, welcome to you as well. Members, before we start with our considerations of the votes, apologies, we received one We received one apology from, I'll just double check, Mr. Hardin, if I'm not mistaken, from PT, who is busy with another engagement. But other than that, we have not received any further apologies. I would now hand over to the Minister, Minister Deirdre Baartman, the opportunity for introductory remarks. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you so much, and good morning to everyone in the committee today. I'm not going to be very long because the Provincial Treasury budget is a small budget. And what essentially you'll be seeing in our vote is that we're having to do more with less. And not only are we doing more with less, you'll see that we are revising our budget downwards by 33.6 million rand. Majority of this is due to releasing COE back to the Provincial Revenue Fund, due to revised recruitment plan, due to respective fiscal consolidation. You will also see a number of items that I tend to call them accounting changes, where particular programs are shifted between different units just for efficiencies. And you'll also see within our vote that we are reallocating some of the funding that we have budgeted for research to some of the outer financial years. So while you'll see some of that happening in the current vote, the research will still be continuing, and we hope that the committee will agree with us and that the committee will assist us in passing this vote in order for us to continue that research in the 2025 year as well as in the 2026 year. But Chair, I'm going to hand over to the team if there's anything in particular that they would like to highlight for the committee. And I'm in your hands in terms of taking us through the vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Minister. HOD, we also note your comment in the chat section, and it's good to hear that the team is out assisting municipalities. Over to you, HOD, for introductory remarks, should you have any.
Thank you, Chair. At this moment, just to reiterate what Minister's already indicated, I think this adjustment or the year really presented us with both challenges as well as opportunities, and that opportunity came in the form of the adjustment budget to ensure that we look at our longer term viability, and we had to really reconfigure and rethink our approach, ensuring that it does not only address our immediate needs, but it also begins to lay the groundwork for sustainability in future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, HOD. Members, I will now afford you the opportunity for general questions or comments based on the introductory remarks made by the Minister and the HOD. Please use your raise hand function if you would like to make any comments or ask any questions to the Minister or the HOD. Member Nkondlu, go ahead, Member Nkondlu.
Oh, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the introductory remarks from the Minister and the HOD. I wanted to check two things from the Minister. One is that through this budget, because it's an adjusted budget, Minister, and one takes that adjustment, looks at unforeseen matters, things that you'd want to reallocate. Treasury, you did not think about considering the cries of the Children's Commission around this adjustment, together with the issue of the 2,407 teacher post that we had to lose. With those things as part of really trying to deal with some of the service pressures, as I think the theme has been across in your speeches, around this adjusted budget. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Nkondlo. Any other members for comments or questions before we hand over to the Minister and the HOD? And I do not see any. Minister, over to you.
Thank you so much. Just going to get my bearings quickly. So in terms of unforeseen, unavoidable other pressures on the system, you will see that we have allocated items in our reserves for the possibility of future disasters, but also possible external shocks to the system. Between the stabilization reserve as well as the unavoidable and unforeseeable reserve, we have allocated 922 million in that particular reserve. On the 2,407, how did we take those figures into account? In July, there was a projected pressure from the respective department of 687 million rand reported as an in-year 2024 risk. They have indicated at that time that post a cost reduction, which would amount to 280.8 million rand, which was their in-year risk, and that amounted essentially to, my understanding is the 2,407 posts. So essentially, in order to fund the full shortfall, this would have amounted to 687.54 million rand. In the current budget, what the Provincial Treasury has attempted to do, given the fiscal constraints, there were pressures upon health as well as education. So in the education budget specifically, we allocated as a government 250 million rand to the budget. That was from the Provincial Revenue Fund. My understanding is that the residual pressure will be covered through acceleration and matching of placing of teachers, which does have the potential to decrease the current pressure in the system. However, this does not necessarily cater for growth in the system. Further, what we have done is we have unearmarked 600 million rand in the provincial equitable share portion within the infrastructure allocation in the event that they would wish to utilize it for further maneuverability within the vote, and that those two items that they are able to use for maneuverability amounts to 850 million. I'm just going to hand over to the team just for the Children's Commissioner, Chair. Thank you.
If I may, Chair, just to touch base with the question raised in terms of the Children's Commissioner. So the Children's Commissioner, there has been underspending on the vote, on behalf of the Commission. And so I'm not sure, Member Nkondlo, in terms of the pressure, but because the Children's Commission has underspent, they have asked for a realignment of their funding. So we have realigned funding to the tune of about 4 million for the 2025-26 financial year for the Children's Commission. I'm also aware that there is currently a review happening. So I think what we'll do is also to see what the outcome of the review is, but the Children's Commission has not really indicated to us a pressure as such. But what we can see is that there's been underspending and they've asked for realignment. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you to the HOD. Members, final opportunity for questions or comments on introductory remarks before we get to the vote itself. I see Member Brankhuis first and Member Mbombu after and Member Nkondlo third. In that order, Member Brankhuis, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thank you very much to the Minister for the introductory remarks, and to the department also. And Chairperson, yes, my question to the department is simply that how much is the department doing in terms of getting the information out to the citizens of the Western Cape province in terms of getting their organizations like NPOs, NPCs, companies to get onto the Western Cape database. I find that on the ground, a lot of people, they don't know. They don't have the information of registering their organizations on the database of the Western Cape government. I would like to know from the department what is the department currently doing in terms of getting that information more available and more accessible to the public of the Western Cape, so that the people, by knowing of how to follow these processes, getting their organizations on the database of the Western Cape, can get access to that information of starting, small businesses, and eventually making it to bigger business. So if the department can just give an indication of where they are in terms of informing the public of the Western Cape with regard to these processes, how to get their organizations on the database of the Western Cape. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Member Brankhuis. Member Mbombo.
Yeah, thank you, Minister and HOD. Those who have touched this, although it's not necessarily it's covered in the book, because I'm on page that those you mentioned in your introductory remarks. For service pressures, which is my favorite topic, you can understand the background. Why is that? Education, there are two things that are out there in regard to what is the government has provided education, also what the education is saying. In front of me, I have, probably they correct me, I have that you have allocated education 250 million for their service pressure, which is the in-year. We have also allocated education 7 disaster response. In addition to that is from the provincial purse, PURSE. And then in addition to that, education got the BFI of H1. Let's leave that BFI part. Now, with the 250 plus also with this disaster response on 17 million, why is it that yet is for the pressures that the education can say that they won't be able to fill up the posts? The reason I'm asking is because if now you're going to have the rapid school infrastructure, you'll have classrooms. And then what's going to happen? How are you going to fill the classrooms up if now you don't expand in regard to the COE? And also in your opening statement, Minister, as also in your speech, you did indicate that the issue of ensuring that the COE is specifically for the education of the teachers, that's why you are providing this funding. In comparison with health, by the way, in health in 23-24, not 24-25, there was no service pressure money, because I remember screaming so hard. But the point is about at least now we have provided. So I need also to out of it that we have now allocated 230 million when there was nothing in the previous year. In addition to that, we have allocated 6.5 million for the flood disaster response. But I didn't hear any much noise in regard to the filling of the posts. How do you respond to, because like even now in the news this morning, there was a whole issue about education says they can't, they won't. That man is for all what was not being taken kept for, whatever the English means. But if you could respond on that. And then the other part, lastly, also on the staffing. You roll over a 67,000 rand, it might be nothing, from the 23-24 cover legal fees related to the wage agreement dispute. Is there still a dispute in regard to that? Because my understanding, the 7.4 whatever it was, plus also that 1,000 rand that the union as part of the budget is were done. I'm not sure that I wasn't aware that there's still the dispute besides that the new upcoming negotiations. And then lastly, in 2023, in the previous budget year, the shortfall of about $1 billion that the province, which the Premier even had a professor around that, and even was quoted as saying that we'll take them to court. They must pay back that money, which is being owed in terms of the whole of the carryover. And then there was a intergovernmental dispute, which is the then finance minister was engaging with the national finance minister in regard to that part of it. How far is now the province in regard to that dispute, and if there will still be any court in regarding to the national the backhouse for the province? Thank you very much.
Thank you, members. Members, I just want to remind you that this is an opportunity to ask questions to the HOD and the Minister based on the introductory remarks related to this vote. So please just keep that in mind. Member Nkondlo, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, part of my rejoinder is on a follow-up and just one question that is new. And I think I'm covered partly by Member Mbombo, because I think what Minister refers to in her response, indeed, about the residual spending of 105 million together with the money, that goes to the brick and mortar, is not responding to actually to the teaching posts. And I think that also has been confirmed by the MEC of Education that actually in his public statement that the residual budget pressure refers to the deficit after cutting the 2,407 teaching posts, and that the additional allocation towards reducing the remaining budget deficit has no effect on these posts we are referring to. So I think my question was specific, to deal with these 2,407 posts. So I'm still not answered in that regard. And indeed, for me, what would be, a misnomer is the fact that you build schools, and I am sure in this in the money that has been allocated both by National Treasury and the addition from the provincial funds, that some of the schools are the very schools that will be built in the poor communities, where some of the teaching posts have actually been taken out. So the logic just does not make sense that you build nice, beautiful schools, which actually cost millions if you look at the cost of those schools, but the actual teaching is then shortchanged. So I think it just does not make sense. And this is one thing that one is seeking clarity on, because we see indeed that the biggest adjustment in this budget, both nationally and even in the province, has to do with hardcore or physical infrastructure. And that is why I think this issue about the service delivery pressures, which we do know, and we speak about it, if Minister would recall the discussion around the Mero and the implications around the issue of inequality, and how are we using spending to actually affect the very inequality of 0.59, 0.6, which I think the colleague from the Provincial Treasury was indeed correct to say it's about the combination of policy choices that gets to be made to effect, in a meaningful way, that Gini coefficient. So I think for me, that's exactly what I was trying to understand here with this particular question. And as such, I think also HOD, I would like maybe this may be matter, Chair, so that we don't prolong the conversation, just for Treasury to share with us exactly what is this underspending on the Children's Commission, Commissioner, what would have been that spending versus what has been allocated and what has been the need when the Children's Commission started, because the issue of the budget shortage of the Children's Commission as an establishment has been a conversation, I'm sure, in the Standing Committee of Premier, where that department, where that commission accounts, and generally during our annual report period. So one was trying to understand. I hear the notion of underspending, because the underspending, until I know what was underspent, and what are the reasons, it does not necessarily respond to the question of the budget needs to enable that commission to actually fulfill its mandate. So maybe we can be given that information post so that we can read and maybe take up in future conversations. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Member Nkondlo. Over to the Minister and the department.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'll take some of the questions that are in general, so I'll put them all together. In terms of just the Public Procurement Client Centre, I'll just ask the team, either Isaac or Nadia, just to come in there regarding the Procurement Client Centre. In terms of the education pressures, the 70 million rand for the disasters from National Treasury is a conditional grant, so they can only spend that on what they get it for. The 251 million rand in terms of the BFI is similar, that they can only spend that infrastructure money. On the money that Provincial Treasury is allocating, Chair, I'm just going to quickly repeat some of the figures. As at 31 July, their pressure as reported by them was at 687 million rand. They indicated to the Provincial Treasury that they would have to consider cutting posts of 2,407 posts, which at the time the calculation was 280.8 million rand. If you minus that from the 687, that's where the shortfall as at 30 September 405.6 million rand, as they reported in the quarterly performance, came from. The Provincial Treasury has identified two sources of allocations. The first allocation we identify, which you will see, is the 250 million rand from the Provincial Revenue Fund. And you will also see that we are unearmarking 600 million rand from the equitable share within the infrastructure component. This total comes to 850 million rand. And in terms of Section 43 of the PFMA, the executive authority of not only education, what we've done, I'll quickly just deal with health as well. Health, we've allocated 230 million rand from the Provincial Revenue Fund, but also we've also unearmarked 193 million rand for health within their equitable share in the infrastructure component because of the pressure upon them. The pressure that they've shown was due to the goods and services because of medical inflation. And I do know that they are struggling at the moment with DPSA regulations relating to their COE and their posts. But perhaps that is something to have a conversation with health within their particular vote. But in terms of both departments, in terms of the equitable share in the infrastructure that we've unearmarked, the executive authorities are able to write to Provincial Treasury in terms of Section 43 of the PFMA, indicating if they wish to use that equitable share sitting in the infrastructure for other matters. So in terms of identified funding for health, that's the 230 million rand from the Revenue Fund plus the 193 million unearmarked for maneuverability within their vote. And then for education, it is 250 million rand from the Provincial Revenue Fund plus the 600 million rand unearmarked for maneuverability within their vote. And what they will specifically use that equitable share for within their budgets will be a question for the respective executive authorities in law. Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to quickly hand over to the department just to deal with the underspending WCCC. I just need to check. I think the legal dispute IGD items, the process would probably be sitting at .p still, but perhaps the team can just come in here for if we have an update on that. Yes, and then if, yeah, perfect. HOD.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you to the committee chair. I'm going to start with, I suppose, Member Nkondlo's question follow up in terms of the underspending, in terms of the commission. I think I think that type of detail, because the commission falls within the department of the Premier and reports in terms of that structure. We don't get, for instance, a IYM in particular from the commission itself. And so I think it might be the more appropriate avenue to direct the question, but we will certainly follow up. I will just check if the team has got any additional information, and we will also be able to provide that to the committee. But definitely we can follow up, but the follow-up will come through the Department of the Premier. The second issue in terms of the database, the question that was asked in terms of the supplier education, we do run a number of open days within various districts and with a number of municipalities. So part of our education process in terms of suppliers is to have open days, and we've held a number of open days over time. We also make sure that we, and then we have the procurement client center, where the suppliers can come in or call in for that matter. And we take them through a process of registration and support that is being done at the supplier at the client center. And then we also respond to any queries that we have. So where there is a request, even from a municipality, which is obviously closer to the service delivery or the location within, where if there's quite a number of suppliers within that would require that, then we would also partner then with the municipality. We also run a number of procurement forums, and where we also partner with local municipalities, and we tackle different topics just to ensure that we continuously upskill and make people aware of the opportunities. I think the members would also be aware that we have our procurement disclosure report, and that report contains also an indication of what Western Cape government is intending to procure within a particular financial year. It provides information in terms of when departments are, in terms of the procurement planning toolkit, when departments are planning to go out on tender. So that information we also make available quite regularly, and is available to the general public. We also on first Thursdays, we usually have the information ready. So for people who would find the time to come through, we do make sure that we are in a position to provide the supplier community with general support and education also when we do have these open Thursdays. I think that's it. And then maybe in terms of the IGD, so the intergovernmental dispute was raised in relation to the shortfall in terms of the COLA. There was an agreement reached, and that agreement entailed the funding of disasters, as well as the funding for our infrastructure portfolio, specifically on the BFI. And so that was in here. So that was once off, but our allocation over the MTF made provision for the carry through effect of that of the ICS and the agreement that was put in place, and we have passed that funding on to departments when that money became available. In the adjustment budget also, we have made an amount available at the time to the tune of 105 million, but I'm going to ask Annelies Pictures to expand a little bit on the specific detail of the allocation. So through the chair, I think through our legal services, the conclusion at this point in time that IGD process has come to sort of a conclusion. But I think and that was the view also from our legal services at the time. I don't, Nadia, I don't know whether you've heard the question, but maybe before Nadia then comes in, Chair, on just in terms of the education of the suppliers and reaching out, if she wants to expand, I'm going to ask Annelies just to come in terms of the numbers. Thanks, Annelies, and then Nadia.
Thank you, HOD. Regarding the health adjustments budget in terms of the 23-24. Now, due to the fiscal constraint, and if we remember also in the 23-24 financial year, our budgets were reduced in the 23-24 financial year. And so we also then realized that as per previous years, that in terms of health, due to higher medical inflation rate and the pressures on the goods and services, as Minister has also mentioned, we did actually fund an additional amount for health in the 23, which is last year's adjustments budget. We did fund money around about 103 million rand that we gave to health in the adjustments budget. When it came to the main budget, the 2024 main budget, there we were not able to assist health at all, except in terms of the cost of living adjustments that we received, and therefore in the 24 main budget, we were not able to do so. That's one of the reasons why they were also then showing the pressures in the current financial year, to which in the current the adjustments budget that is now before the various standing committees, we have now allocated the 230 million rand for pressures where health is concerned. Then in terms of, I think the HOD also handled in terms of regarding numbers on the Children's Commissioner. Memon Kondlo, I don't have the numbers at my fingertips, but there's been an underspending at least for the last 3 years by the Children's Commissioner on their budget. And we've handled that with in various manners, that either, for example, in last year's adjustments budget, we reduced that budget by 2 million in last year because they were not going to spend all their money in the 23-24 financial year. And we actually added that onto the 24-25 financial year. So what I'm trying to indicate is that there is, in terms of a trend of underspending within the Children's Commission, and as the Treasury, that funding is earmarked. So it's a budget within the Department of the Premier, but it's earmarked, and the Department of the Premier cannot utilize it for anything else. And therefore, every adjustments budget we do in terms of engage with the department on in terms of when will the full funding be spent. If not, then we do what we did last year's adjustments budget. We reduced it by 2 million and we added it to the 24-25 financial year. When we looked at the budget now in the adjustments budget for 24-25, however, we were saying that they underspent them last year's budget by 4.3 million rand. And therefore, we were then saying, well, there's a trend of underspending every year. Would they spend the 4.3 million rollover in this financial year? And we were told no. and therefore we then have added that money to 25-26. So where the Children's Commission is concerned, is the fact that we also need to understand they are establishing the Children's Commissioner. They also, there's in terms of, they also had a lag time in finalizing their accommodation, office accommodation. So that has taken some time. And then also to get the capacity on board has also taken some time. So that was one of the reasons cited to us in terms of the underspending. And so we then looking in terms of once those kind of issues are now sorted, and we're hoping it would be sorted by 25-26 with this rollout, with this funding of 4 million that we've given for 25-26, that they'll now be able to have a better spending record where the Children's Commission is concerned. That's it from my side on the numbers, HOD.
Thank you, Annelies. Nadia.
Apologies for interrupting, HOD. Just I don't want to rush anyone, but just a brief input. We only have 45 minutes left and we haven't gotten to the vote yet. So just concluding remarks on that, please.
Noted, Chair.
All right. So thank you, HOD. I think you've covered largely most of the things that we do on the supply education. I think just one or two additions. We get very involved with our clients like municipalities and some of our provincial departments, more particularly the Department of Infrastructure and the Department of Health, when they do supply roadshows and matchmaking with government and suppliers. Additionally, we do videos that we put on our website, and any new topical area we kind of pull through education videos so that suppliers can learn at their own space. Publication of tender opportunities also then happens on the e-tender portal, the national e-tender portal. FAQs are dealt with. We do complaints handling where there's any complaints on any tender processes by municipalities and departments. And then the help desk has a dedicated address for both the municipal and local government side. And we do additional work when we look at conferences like the Smart Procurement Conference. Otherwise, HOD, you covered everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister and HOD. Colleagues, can we move over to the consideration of the vote? If there are any other burning questions on the introductory remarks, I would like us to move over to the consideration of vote 3, Provincial Treasury, in the schedule of the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill. Colleagues, I just want to remind you that in the hard copy, in the blue book, it will be pages 37 to 52, and on the electronic copy, 60 to 75. So when we do ask questions, please just specifically refer to a page number as well as a table or a section that you are referring to, just to make it easier for everyone to follow. Colleagues, with that being said, we will handle in terms of the hard copy, pages 37 to 44 first and 45 to 52 second. So based on the first section, pages 37 to 44, please raise your hand for questions on the first 7 pages. Colleagues, I do not see any hands. Member Nkondlo, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Next question is, I think, on page 38. Chair, if one consider or looks at the COE budget, I think we have to be concerned about an over 22 million in the allocation for COE. Also on page 52, the department mentions a revised recruitment plan due to fiscal consolidation. I think we hear the minister, and I think also the department has been talking about doing more with less. I think we must be taken into confidence. What does this mean? It was recently in the annual report where we're dealing with the challenge of staff exits in this department, you know, people that are strained, you know, in the department, and we continue to see this type of reality. So could the minister and the department just provide us more details about what is this revised plan, and specify how many posts are affected by this shift, you know, functions or roles, and what exactly is going on, because there's always, you know, not filling vacancies in the treasury. You always are dealing with that year in and year out, you know, and then you are also dealing with this issue of shifting of COE. So I think my first question, Chair, is actually interested around this. The second one is on page 39, on sub-program 1.2, the reallocation of funds again. You know, I think it actually builds on the very issue about this revised recruitment plan. I think that is just one area I'm interested to just understand. And then in page 44, Chair, I see there, for me, the spending pattern there is a bit worrisome for me when I look at where we were in 2023, 24, of the percentage spent, and where we are in terms of goods and services. I'm just trying to understand that as the department, are we in the spending level, you know, in this quarter, to cover, you know, the remaining 2 quarters that we have? Those will be my initial questions, Chair, for this round. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Nkondlu. Any other members for questions on the first pages, 37 to 44, before we hand over to the Minister and the Department? See any for now. Minister and HOD, over to you.
Thank you so much. Chair, I'm going to hand over to the team because majority are technical items. I'm just going to ask the team also to deal with the legal fees question that Member Mbombo has put in the chat box as well. But the COE that we are releasing back to the revenue fund. Sorry, sometimes I have to remember I have to now take my treasury hat off and I have to put my finance hat back on. So we're releasing it to the treasury essentially, and there's a combination of reasons of delays in appointments, internal promotions, natural attrition. So I'm just going to ask the team, and if Nadia is online, perhaps just to also deal with that from an HR perspective. And we are requesting some of it back in the new financial year because, for example, some adverts are out even though they have not been filled yet. Chair, I just want to check. I'm not sure if I the 2.1 reallocation question correctly, and then if the team can also just deal with spending patterns. But perhaps if Member Nkondlu would just assist me again with the second question she had on the relocation of funding in program 2.1, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Before we hand over to the HOD, Member Nkondlu, if you can perhaps just repeat that question the Minister referred to. You can post
sorry,
it.
Chair. I think it's just technology.
It's fine, thanks.
We are not this tech generation. No, I was saying in the reallocation of funding of sub-program 1.2 of management services, it actually once again amplifies the very point about, because it speaks about the reallocation, you know, towards also this revised recruitment plan. So it's part of that same question.
Okay, I'm gonna ask then just to pair all the HR matters together then for Nadia, HOD and team. I know that we are also doing some restructuring just in that regard, so that is also just included in some of the COE matters. But HOD and then Ms. Ishmael.
Apologies, Chair. So the bulk of the underspending is on COE, and the COE were the underspending on COE came about because of the directive issued by the DPSA. I think what is important is that it then provided us with more. So we couldn't just go out and advertise. There were things that we needed to put in place in order for us to actually get to a point where we are able to advertise. And I think for the Provincial Treasury, an added challenge, even before the directive was issued in terms of the DPSA, was our ability to retain the staff. And therefore, our churn is quite high in terms of as soon as we recruit certain categories of employees, we know that also now in terms of the areas that gets recruited. And so we having to look at what is our critical list and what do we prioritize in terms of the filling of some of the vacancies. In addition to that, we've also had to deal with changes in legislation, specifically on the procurement side, with the signing of the procurement bill into an act, and that also required of us to rethink in terms of our positioning. Should that act be implemented as is, it would require more functions that was not necessarily performed by the Provincial Treasury previously to begin to do that. And we needed to also rethink in terms of how we are positioning ourselves, even in relation to what we want to achieve in terms of our own strategic plan and our own focus area in terms of strategic procurement. And so we are... It's a culmination of all of these processes and things that have happened external to the department and which the department needed to respond to that led us to have the underspending. I think there is we have some key positions that's vacant. And we are in process of, we have already, let me just also share this with the committee. Currently, we have a number of positions advertised, and all those adverts are closing on the 2nd of December, and we will then go out on a new recruitment process. And so I think already the very same people who are dealing with all of these normal day-to-day running of the Provincial Treasury would also have to find time and make time and focus on the recruitment of staff. And I think in the department and as a management team, there's a commitment that really will be the focus as we get these adverts out. That we then actually also expedite the processes of the actual filling of the position. To that end, I've already had discussions with the CSC to see how they can support us in the process of really focusing on filling some of these the positions and what type of capacity they have available to us, so that when these posts close on the 2nd of December, we can actually, although we can focus on getting these processes done, so that we have people in place. If we keep in mind that people potentially will have to give notice, but really the aim is to start the new financial year with some of these vacant positions filled, depending on the funding that is available. We are also that is also our focus for the MTF. We said people and innovation, and for people we are focusing because we deliver through people, and that is where we are focusing the attention on. I'm going to ask Anna-Marie just to go into some of the detail in terms of the COE, and then also in terms of, yeah, I think there was an issue, it was on the COE. Yes, thanks, Anna-Marie.
Good afternoon. Well, it's still good morning. Yes, thank you very much. I think Yolanda has covered most of the response. Maybe just to indicate that when we do our budget, we do it per post, and as Yolanda has indicated, in some of the instances we project when we anticipate that the posts will be filled, and due to the delays and the process that Yolanda also spoken about with regards to DPSA requirements, the criticality of the posts, and we need to get concurrence from the Premier, that delayed the approving of the filling of those specific posts. Then I think we've also addressed that in the annual report. There was a number of staff members that left the department, and obviously that takes between 3 to 6 months to fill a position. So I think that is more or less, but we do have a list of all of those posts, and we do monitor it on a monthly basis, just to ensure that we ensure that the posts are filled, and that we reduce our underspending. Maybe that's what you also indicated. We will, in the MTech coming up, we will again request the allocation of a portion of all of the funds that we have given up in the adjustments estimate to fill those critical posts. And I think, as I think we've also discussed it in the annual report, obviously the vacancies really puts pressure on the existing staff, and that deals with our health and wellness issues then. So we are confident, and we want to really fill the vacancies. Maybe while I'm on the floor, I will also respond to the question with regards to on page 44, the expenditure to date on goods and services is 33.92%, and we need to spend 59.36% for the remaining of the year. Yes, member, we are confident that we will spend that amount, as most of our projects, for example, the MERO, the MTBPS, those projects is scheduled for the second half of the financial year. So we will definitely spend the full amount on goods and services. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, more questions on pages 37 to 44. Kondlu, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I would like just to say to the department, I really appreciate your commitment, to say you shall fill the post. You are doing A, B, C, and D. In addition to that, I really just request the info whilst you are doing and committing to do all the things that you promised that you are going to do. And I'm saying this because year in and year out, when we deal with this matter, we actually get the same responses, you know. And for me, what is important, which is what I was asking, is actually to understand how many, give us the numbers, how many are these vacancies, how many in terms of what the HOD is saying, you know, are out now, advertised, and will probably be filled, because I understand that's not within your control. You can't dictate that now, because that depends, you know, on the availability of suitable candidates. But it's important to understand so that as we always raise this matter as a concern, we can at least have an understanding, you know, not just a nonchalant agreement between a gentleman's agreement that no, it will be resolved, and then it keeps on recurring. So I think that is why I was asking that specific information to say, how many are these both? Which functions are those? You know, because it's important also to know in which of the sub-programs, what exactly, you know, is it a middle management post? Is it a senior management post? All of that detail. One is asking for that information, because that is important for us, also correlating with the performance that, you know, you would then present to us quarter by quarter. So I think that detail for me, you know, is what is missing in your response. I appreciate the work that is being done to resolve this, and I would like to understand between the DPSA and also the centralization of the function in the Premier's office, you know, and the actual steps you need to take. Perhaps, Chair, I would submit that maybe that's information that the department will have to write to us and provide, so that we understand, because on one hand, we are told of the DPSA circular. Secondly, we know that in terms of appointments, departments in the province, through that coordinating unit within the Premier, must also first go through that particular level, you know, of I'm using a wrong English word to say vetting. It may not necessarily be vetting, but what I'm trying to say is that I understand that that is also another step in terms of the red tape of getting any department to finally be able to tick a box and say, yes, we can advertise. So I would want for the department to send to us the circular together with this one of the Premier's office, and explain to us how both of these processes, in terms of how they would decide on HR matters, particularly the appointments, both new, you know, and existing, what necessarily happens. So I would like to get that information so that we just get an understanding of what the departments had to go through. My new questions, Chair, is that I just want to know. I'm covered by the response around the spending. In page 42, there's a 2.3 million, I think 2,380,000 reallocated to 2025 for appointing a panel of experts with this issue of infrastructure. I've got two questions there. What's the relationship of this panel that's going to be put by Provincial Treasury and what is being done by the Department of Infrastructure, where infrastructure is being implemented through the project facility? So I'm trying, if I can be answered in that, that's one part of this question. The second part is, with this money and at this time in the financial year, you know, because I recall that this was actually also raised as a delay in the last financial year. So I want to understand whether during this time, you know, everything has been done, and where is the process now of appointing this panel? Is it already being rolled out? You know, can we just be explained at what stage, you know, will this be concluded, you know, in as far as appointment of this panel? I think, yeah, that's my new question, Chair, on this section. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Nkondlo. Member Stoffel.
Thank you, Chairperson. Am I audible?
We can hear you, yes.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to the MEC and also HOD and the entire team, and also a very good morning to the members of the Provincial Parliament, Honorable. Thank you, Chair. Chair, mine is also on page 42, the realignment. Chair, as we all can see, there's a 3.5 million reallocated to 2026 and 2027. Pardon me, Chair, if the question was being covered by someone. And the 2027 to 2028 financial year for dedicated capacity to develop and implement institutional funding strategy for the Western Cape government and to develop and implement key policies and strategies. Now, Chair, regarding the budget realignment, we observed there's a trend across various departments, including this department, where funds allocated for the current financial year are being reallocated to 2025-2026 financial year and beyond. For this department, the amount total of over 12 million. Could this department or the MEC, could you clarify why these funds were not utilized this year and provide the justification for the reallocation of them to future financial year? Would I like to understand the department's reasoning and planning behind this approach to budgeting? And also, Chair, additionally so, lastly, normally the DA-led government frequently lament about budget cuts and fiscal austerities measures. However, we see millions allocated for this financial year going underspent and being shifted to future years. Could you provide detailed explanation for this? Additionally, so what will be the actual value of this 3.5 million in the 2026-2027 financial year, considering inflation and other economic factors? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Stoffel. Members, I know we are discussing very important information. I just want to remind you of we have less than 25 minutes left, and we still have to do the second part, pages 45 to 52 as well. So I want to open up for that part of the deliberation on this vote as well. Before I hand over to the department and the minister to answer the questions posed by Member Nkondlo and Member Stoffel, is there any questions to pages 45 and 52, the second part of the book as well, so that we can hand over to the department some of those questions as well? Member Stoffel, is that a legacy hand or is it a new one?
Also on page 43, Chair, table 3.3.
You are welcome to go ahead, Member Stoffel.
The actual payments and revised spending projections. We have noted this year, we observed a slow spending pattern compared to the same period in the previous years. Could you explain the reason for the slowdown? Additionally, what measures have been implemented to prevent underspending and to ensure that allocated funds are fully utilized within financial years? I think I coupled that one with the previous question also, Chair. I thank you.
Thank you, Member Stoffel. Member Nkondlo, as the last one before we give to the department and the minister.
Thank you, Chair. I'm responding to your last part for us to include questions from 45 to 52. My ones, Chair, I just want to understand whether page 45 and page 47, there's 135 there rolled over for procurement of office furniture that was previously committed. I just wanted to understand the relationship of this with what is in page 45 on the replacement of obsolete office furniture. Is it the same amount? Can you just explain that to us? And then, you know, the other thing I just want to understand is two things. One is that when you consider the question I was asking about the panel for infrastructure. Now, I want to understand in the department, whilst this panel is not has not been established, which sub-program is actually doing financial oversight over the huge infrastructure budget. And I raised this because even yesterday and the other day we're discussing, you know, almost the 1.2 billion which has gone into one department, that is the Department of Infrastructure, you know, for the disasters and also the other new build, you know. So who is going to be managing the spending, also considering the historical performance of spending, you know, with this particular department, but also with the fact that this very department is dealing also with the issues of new configuration. So if you are still sitting trying to put up the panel of experts, which would have also, I think, done some work to help, you know, I'm assuming, you know, with the oversight, financial oversight, which function and how are you dealing with that? And also what is in there under program 2, if we read there that expenditure is expected to increase during second half of the financial year, that's on page 45, due to the continuation of consultancy services related to research on fiscal futures. On this thing of fiscal futures, Chair, I'm really interested to understand that what is the value addition of the fiscal futures? You know, because we've also been seeing new things being brought, you know, year in and year out, you know, by provincial government, including Treasury. The Premier the other day was speaking about the PDI of Harvard, you know, that everybody, I'm not sure whether as provincial treasury, you are also, you know, have adopted and you are using that tool, you know, for planning. And my confusion with all of these things is that we've got fiscal futures supposedly and innovation to help, you know, on the financial side, also to forecast, you know, what futures are we looking at. What is this value from these fiscal futures versus all these other new inventions that actually come up, you know, to help bolster, particularly infrastructure spending? And that's the question I put to you, because the implementation obviously will be asked to the department, but infrastructure, managing infrastructure spending so that we limit, you know, financial leakages, particularly in drawing the benefit of the infrastructure investment that we're talking about to support the very policy priority of job creation, but also of a growing economy that will deal with the inequality, particularly in the poor, poverty-stricken communities of this province. So this is why I'm asking the value addition, because at a high-end income, at a high-end outcomes, that is what we are looking at. That yes, the Western Cape, you know, has got clean audits. It's got, you know, it's attracting, you know, investment, including extra monies allocation from Treasury. But to what extent are we seeing a change, you know, and significant change in the profile, the socio-economic profile, you know, of the communities in the Western Cape? Whilst it's a long-winded ask from my side, what I'm trying to understand is the value addition of the fiscal futures and its relationship with the likes of the Harvard methodology that the Premier was talking about. Thank you very much. Those are my last questions.
Thank you, Member Nkondlo. Over to the Minister and the Department.
Thank you so much. I will start with some of my favorite topics, which are very much linked to alternative and blended financing, as well as financial forecasting. In terms of the, can we send in the information in the meantime? I'm definitely sending the information regarding the post in the meantime, Chair. The committee just needs to please just forward us the respective resolution and what specifically you would like in the information of the post, and we're happy to work with you on that. We're happy to forward you the DPSA circular as well. And perhaps, Chair, it might be useful just for .P to send the committee just a note on how the respective steps work in terms of the filling of posts. In terms of the alternative and blended financing, which is very much linked to diversification of revenue, this is part of why we want this particular infrastructure panel. And it's essentially in order to do technical assistance and also to evaluate project proposals for infrastructure funding opportunities. I'm going to just ask the HOD team just to come in there, because we do also have a unit assisting us with that within PT. And it really is so that we can see in the current budget that the Western Cape portion of our revenue is 5%. The other portion of the Western Cape budget is 95%. So part of the work going forward that we are doing is we are trying our best to identify various different funding opportunities for the province so that we're able to diversify our revenue in this regard. I'm going to ask the HOD department just to come in here for us. And the fiscal futures tool, I'm really happy about this. We've received the respective tool. It's absolutely wonderful. We've even received what I call a live test drive of it, essentially, where you're able to do future financial forecasting on a particular budget. Some of the items that one can do on the particular tool is look at if there's downwards GDP growth in the country, for example, what is the impact that would have on the province? If there's increased revenue in the province, and to what extent, what is the impact on the province? And you can start doing long-term future planning on the budget, for example. But I'm just going to ask the team to come in here, and because it's really amazing work that they're doing in this regard. Then just in terms of the spending management, so as you would know, in the second half of a financial year, we table quite a lot of fiscal policy documents. Some of these include the PERO, the MERO, our various respective budget documents, and also for the budget in the beginning of the year, which is technically part of the second quarter of the financial year. And we do table a lot of fiscal documents in the second half of the year in this regard. And for example, there's also research that we do frequently on matters such as gambling and racing that we also do that, for example, we've received some research in the second quarter of the year as well. I'm just going to ask CFO if you can also just come back in on this item. Then just on the realignment of the 3.5 million rand. So that is mostly for programs to assist municipalities. And what you'll see is that we've realigned 1.5 million rand to, I think it's the 25. Okay, our CFO must come in here to assist me. I think it's the 26 and the 27 year, or the 25 and the 26 year. But the 1 year is 1.5 million, the other year is 2 million. I just need to quickly check. Yes, the 1.5 million is for the 26 year and the 2 million is for the 27 year for programs assisting municipalities. But if the MFMA team can also just come in here for us, please, and then I'll hand over to the HOD and team. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Let me start with the post. I think we can answer that one quickly. So currently there's 10 that's currently been advertised, and they range over a number of units. For instance, there is financial asset management. There's the two posts as it relates to the 3.5 million, which I'm going to speak to shortly. So that is the one is the institutional fundraiser, which is a contract position, and institutional change management, which is also a contract position. And then we have financial analyst position. We obviously have both the two deputy director general positions vacant. One, we are currently in process of getting to a point where we're moving towards interviews. The other one, which is the Deputy Director General Fiscal and Economic Services, closes on the 2nd of, as one of those that close on the 2nd of December. We also have positions on the infrastructure side, which is related to public-private partnership analyst. And then we have a systems position, as well as a financial analyst, normative and financial compliance. On the local government side, we have both the assistant director and director positions vacant, and those 2 posts have been advertised. We are also, obviously, those ones are in addition to the ones that we are already currently where the adverts have closed, and we are busy dealing with the recruitment processes around those advertisements. And then we are already have approval to put another 5 applications, 5 positions out, and that will most probably be advertised in the month of January. So there's quite a number of posts that we're trying to work through with the view of filling them as a matter of urgency. Then just in relation to the, I think the question was, and I'm going to hand over to the relevant heads and chief directors to respond to some of the detail. But even in terms of infrastructure, yes, there is a Department of Infrastructure, but we as a Provincial Treasury have a mandate as it relates to what is contained within Section 18 of the PFMA. And that puts an obligation on us to monitor the and to provide advice. So this year, there is a big drive. For instance, because of the constrained fiscal environment, to go out and really look at alternative financing, hence the position that we have. In addition to the panel of experts, we also have the position of institutional fundraiser in a way, but this is really a position that's going to assist us to do the footwork in trying to not only look at what is available within the donor community, but what are the alternatives available and really bring them in. And we are working with the Department of Infrastructure on this. There is, I think the importance is that Western Cape government, the focus is on growth for jobs, and one of the important levers in order to turn things around and to get to that 1 trillion rand economy is infrastructure. And I think that we are in an ideal position to be able to put an integrated pipeline together, and that integrated pipeline is a long-term pipeline, and that is with that pipeline that we want to actually access the market and ask the market to respond to the ask, and these things can take on various forms, which I'm not going to go necessarily into the detail, but the partnership is between the Department of the Department of Infrastructure as well as the Department of the Provincial Treasury. When we speak finances, it is the mandate of the Provincial Treasury. I think that I want to also just link that the issues around the COE spending to the question asked by Member Stoffel in terms of the underspending. A large portion of our underspending is related to what has happened in terms of compensation. I think the CFO already also spoke to that. So it's the same issue that keeps on coming back, and so a big portion of that, unfortunately, is in relation to our COE. With every month that if the CFO indicated that we budget monthly and we try and project by when we're going to fill a position. And so when we start the financial year, we might say, okay, we're only going to fill the position given now looking at what we have, we might be able to fill the position 3 months hence. If we don't fill the position within that time frame, it means that we are not spending that money for that month. Hence, the accumulated effect of that then is what one see in terms of the overall underspending in terms of the vote. I'm going to ask the analysts to just expand a bit in terms of the panel of experts. It is within the Chief Directorate, Provincial Government, Public Finance, was the other question that was asked. And then the CFO to touch on the issues around the procurement for office furniture, and then maybe just to add in terms of fiscal futures, it is putting us in a position to do forward planning with scenarios. I think the one thing that we learned from the previous financial year is that we were not quite prepared to deal with the manner in which we had to adjust budgets as a result of fiscal consolidation. And we then found ourselves at some point really on the back foot, so to speak, but then having to regroup and try and mitigate some of the risks that we see. This tool allows us to plan for different scenarios. So, and with this, I think the work that is being done within the Department of the Premier in terms of futures planning, it's important that financially we would also be able to plan for the future, and then also then manage our risk much more proactively. And one cannot look at the fiscal futures project. I think what we need to do is to look at it holistically, but to say, okay, so what else are we doing within the space? If there is an indication that there'll be a shortfall in revenue, what are we doing on trying to firstly maximize our own revenue sources, but also then diversifying our revenue base. So there's a number of things that come into play here. If we see that there's an issue with the equitable share, and is the equitable share keeping up with the demands, service delivery demands, how then do we approach the National Treasury and the FFC? What are the things that we need to change now to be able to put us in a position to deal with some of the risks that we foresee coming our way, that might be coming our way. And so this reallocation is really to ensure that we are able to keep the data that we need to source from various sources, and to keep that data going so that the model itself remains relevant, and that we be able to use it optimally, even for our own research, as well as the ones I think we in the MTBBS we talk about we expand a little bit about the fiscal futures project, but it also goes hand in hand with the evidence that we have already put in the system as it relates to both the MERO and the PERO. And then firstly, Annalise on the panel of experts, and then CFO, if you can just come in on the office furniture.
Actually, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we have exactly 2 minutes left, and we still have to do our draft committee report as well. So I am going to ask that the questions just be answered in writing to the committee, if possible, so we can, or we will add it as resolutions, and we will then send it to the department. But we unfortunately do not have any more time. And I know everyone is very passionate about the department, but we still have to adopt our committee report, and the mobility vote is starting directly after this one. So I would just like to afford the minister and the department some closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want to say thank you to yourself as Chair and the committee members for all of your questions. Again, it's always really refreshing to hear where we're doing well and where there are areas for improvement that we can work on towards the 2025 budget and come back with solutions or proposed solutions. In terms of the fiscal futures and the alternative and blended financing, just want to indicate that we are really working hard to try and get our framework for alternative and blended financing done within this financial year, and perhaps post the budget period. Because I know that obviously February and March is always very filled with SOPAs and budget and the votes. Perhaps the committee might want PT to do a presentation just on where we are at on alternative and blended financing in terms of this journey that we are walking, as well as fiscal futures. I think it would be not only really helpful, but it really speaks to the ministerial priority that I've set for us in terms of innovation, that how can we better plan for the future. I know it's very technical sometimes, but it's really great work that the department is doing, and we remain committed to the oversight role that the committee plays on our vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. HOD, if there was anything from your side.
No, Chair, thank you very much. But I think we wait then on the questions for written response. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you so much, HOD. Before I do the final vote of thanks, I just wanted to allow, if there are any members of the public, just to allow them to also ask a question to the Minister or the HOD. If Ms. Adams can just help me look if there are any indications, but I do not see any. Colleagues, thank you so much, Minister, HOD and to the entire department, as well as the members of the public. We have now concluded our deliberations on the vote. Members, please just stay so that we can do a draft committee report, and the Minister and the department is free to leave the meeting now. Thank you so much for joining us, Minister, and all the officials and members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Members, thank you. We will now move to the consideration of the draft committee report. I would now afford members, I just want to double check just give me a second, the permanent members of the finance committee is member Masipa, member Wessels, member Mbombu, member Nkondlu, member Constable, and member Brankhuis. In terms of members supporting the vote, by show of hands, please indicate members who will be supporting the vote. I see member Wessels for support, member Mbombu, and member Masipa. Thank you, members. Members who do, you can now just lower your hand again if you don't mind. Thank you so much. And members who do not support the vote. See member Nkondlu, member Brankhuis, and member Constable. Thank you very much, members. We have noted that you do not support. I also support the vote. So with a majority, the draft committee report, if we can just ask Ms. Adams to flight the report for us on the screen. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Ms. Adams. Luckily, I'm still young and I can read what's written there. And it says, the report of the Standing Committee on Finance, Vote 3, Provincial Treasury, in the schedule of the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2/2024, dated 20 November 2024. The Standing Committee on Finance report that it has concluded its deliberations on Vote 3, Provincial Treasury, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustment Appropriation Bill B2/2024, referred to the committee in terms of Standing Rule 188, and that it supports the vote referred to it. And then further to that, in terms of Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress, the Patriotic Alliance, Al Jamaa expressed their minority view to not support the vote. Thank you very much, members. Members, just in terms of the resolutions, we can either pose the resolutions.
Apologies, Chair. We need to consider and adopt the report.
Sorry, Ms. Adams. Thanks for that. Can I have someone to propose the adoption of the report?
Derek Wessels will propose.
Thank you, Member Wessels. Member Masipa?
Support.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's Member Nkondlu.
Yes, Chair. I've been having my hand up before the adoption of the report because I wanted to check with you whether those that are supporting or not supporting the vote, are you providing them an opportunity to substantiate something I think I observed done yesterday with the DORA bill? So I wanted to check whether that approach will be followed with the budget adjustment. So I wanted to check that if we are allowed to substantiate our reasons not to support.
We will allow that, Member Nkondlu. Would you like to do that now, or how would you like to do that? The minority view?
I would send if other members would like to raise it here, but given the effect of pressures of time that we have raised earlier on of the next budget adjustment, I would write those to the committee coordinator in the next hour so that at least it is recorded as part of our not support. Also, Chair, I would want to make a submission that in you as the chair with the other chairs in program authority into the future, please consider the issue of time for committees, because the pressure that we are given on considering this budget adjustment, I just really believe it's too limited for us to be able to do justice to the work of budget adjustments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Nkondlu. I completely agree with you. I had the same thoughts throughout the meeting, so we will definitely have the discussion around the time. And you are welcome to write to the procedural officer your reasons for not supporting the vote. I just want to check with Ms. Adams. Does that conclude our committee report in terms of the procedure?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you so much. Members, in terms of resolutions, we are 7-8 minutes over time already, and I know mobility is starting at 11:30. Members, in terms of resolutions, can I propose that we send in further requests for information, recommendations and resolutions in writing to the procedural officer, Ms. Adams, or that we post them in the chat function, as we are pressed for time at this stage?
Support.
It's fine, Chair. Support, Chair. Fine, Chair.
Thank you so much, members. Members, thank you for joining. The meeting is now adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Chairperson.